Is it? Hi, I'm Arlene McIntyre, Creative Director at Ventura Design, and you're listening to Shut the Front Door, a light-hearted podcast that will bring you through the front door and into the homes of influential and interesting people. Home for me is one of the most important things in my life. My career has fortunately given me the opportunity to work closely with people and to help them create a home they will cherish forever. Derval O'Rourke is one of Ireland's best-known and respected sports stars. A sprint hurdles athlete for over 12 years, Derval is a 3-times Olympian and the Irish record holder for the 60 and 100-metre hurdles. Since retiring, Derval has turned her attentions to aiding people with the knowledge to eat well and keep moving, her philosophy in life. With 2 best-selling books under her belt, she has recently launched Derval.ie, an online community for fitness, plans, recipes, expert advice, and support. Mum to Dafne and Archie, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Derval O'Rourke to Shut the Front Door. Thank you for joining me, Derval.
Thanks so much for having me.
And how are you, and how is life in lockdown treating you?
Life in lockdown is pretty good, I'll be honest. I am a really busy person and I have 2 small kids. So Archie's 1 and Daphne is 4. And no matter how hard I try, I always end up being busy. And in the past sort of 3 months, it's been so much quieter. So obviously it's been really tough not seeing our families. But actually just being in our own little family unit in our house has genuinely been a really nice experience.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of that. A lot of people are saying that, it's been a big positive for them in many ways.
It has. And I suppose for me, because I work for myself, when I had both of my kids, I didn't take a kind of structured time off. I kept working. I brought them with me. I mean, Archie was on the set of Ireland's Fittest Family last year. And I just am one of those people that finds it really hard to slow down. And lockdown has definitely forced me to slow down. And, we're in a house that we built and moved into 3 and a bit years ago. And I think having that time at home, like I've looked at it in a really positive way, that this is sort of a bit of a break in life, and it's like a little bit of a gift in some ways, having that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really enjoyed it, and it's given me a lot of clarity over what do I want to go back to, what do I maybe not want to go back to, and what's important. So yeah, I'm actually in great form.
That's great. No, I completely agree. I feel exactly the same way. I've been more productive, if anything. And my time is being better spent, if you know what I mean. The balance is better because I'm not sitting in traffic, and I have more time at home with my little one, and I'm getting in 2 walks a day some days. So it's been good.
Yeah, and I think we all get really busy, and especially, definitely with the kids being so small, I've found the time has been such a difficult thing for me to manage. And that's where a lot of what I do on Derval.ie actually became really important, because it was about like trying to help other people manage their time and fit in some fitness and fit in, healthy eating. And I needed to start taking that advice on board as well. And it's definitely given me a bit of time for self-care.
Yeah. And has Derval.ie been keeping you super busy?
It's been really, really busy. Thankfully, we saw a massive increase in usage. I mean, we were live over a year when COVID started. So we had really kind of had the product to a place where home workouts, home solutions to healthy lifestyle, where we were really confident and happy in the product. So when COVID kicked off, I suppose our challenge was there's kind of 5 of us work on it, and all of a sudden, overnight none of us were in the office together. We were all working remotely, and I was juggling the kids, and my business partner was juggling his kids, and so that was our challenge as opposed to our product. It's not like we had to change the product to suit that people were at home, because that has been our product from the start. Like I've always felt very passionately about being able to really mind yourself in your home, because I think we all waste a lot of time, and because time is so precious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really busy on Derval.ie, but really positive. I've been running different challenges for people to kind of carve out that time at the moment and really look at everything and take care of themselves. So I've loved it. And because of the restrictions, it's the only thing I've worked on for 3 months. I haven't been working on any TV or media stuff, and it's been really brilliant. I've loved it. I've loved kind of engaging so much with the community. Like we're having live workouts on Monday nights, and been so positive with the site. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. I was just looking at your site once again before you came on, and I believe you're offering a special 7-day offer. Is that correct? To anyone in
Yeah,
Ireland?
yeah, we do have free trial for 7 days, which is something we introduced a few weeks ago because I really believe in the product. So the vast majority of people who join for the 7 day free trial stay with us, and then it's only €7 a month after that. So in terms of cost, I always wanted to be quite low cost, and I always wanted, mostly it's women who are on our site, and I wanted them to feel like €7 a month wasn't a big spend for them, and it was really easy to justify. So putting the 7 day free trial in place was important because it just made people trying the product simple. And then I have such confidence in the content that's on there because there's so much content. There's home Pilates classes, there's like different personal trainers, we've had nutritional scientists work on the food content, then there's mindset content. So once people are there, I really feel like they'll see the benefit, and the community is massive. Like we have a very, very busy, engaged online community that post every single day in our private group, and like I struggle to keep up with the posting, like there's just so much of it, and it's such a positive space. Like I got a really nice compliment recently from a member that said to me, sometimes the online space can feel a little toxic, but they know when they go onto our group, it's only ever positive and helpful. And I thought that was a really nice thing. And that's really what I set out to do, to help people find it a little bit easier to mind themselves.
Love that. And tell me something, Derval, what's the general feeling around COVID-19 in Cork at the moment?
It's it's interesting down here. So I lived in Dublin for 14 years. So, and a lot of my friends are obviously still up there. And I think it's very different in Cork because we're just a bit more geographically spread out. A very good pal of mine is actually working in CUH for his 6-month rotation. He's a former athlete, Paul Hessian, and I've been chatting to him about it. I think it's been very controlled in Cork, mainly I think because of that geographic spread of population, and people have been. I mean, Cork just went so quiet so quickly. I live in a place called Crosshaven by the sea, and kind of from April onwards, like I look at the sea, and all the boats start coming in the water, and the river starts to get really busy with people for the summer. And it's just been so quiet. It's only in the past few days the boats have started to be put back in the water. There's a walkway in front of my house that has started to get a tiny bit busier, but Cork just went very, very quiet for a while, but it needed to, and it was really important. And, thankfully the spread has been contained somewhat, and I think we've done really well as a country.
That's great. I was listening to somebody, I think it was yesterday in the car, that was on News Talk, and he had his business inside the English market.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he was just talking about how it's going to be a real slow process to bring it back to what it was before, but that they're going to get there, and it was a really positive interview.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed a lot about the businesses down here. I've been in a lot of different business groups to be friends with a lot of people who have businesses. They all very much accepted that what we needed to do was everyone just kind of stop and pause. But people have been very good and very resilient, I think, in small businesses to just figure out what is the environment, what can I do to stay engaged with my customers, and how do I come out the other side of this and make sure the business survives to still serve the customers afterwards. And I think the English market is actually a great example of that. A lot of their producers are supplying a crowd called Neighbour Food, who I get food deliveries from, and it's been really, I think there's been a really good positive feeling. And I think as well we've become very appreciative of our businesses that are closed now. Like you really would miss them. You miss the people behind the businesses, and I hope that appreciation stays there when we start to slowly return.
Yeah, that's so true. We miss the people behind the businesses. Very well said. That's absolutely so true. Same for us in Dublin. And even like anyone who's opened up a little cafe or is doing a takeaway service or offering coffees, it's just so welcome, and it's lovely to have that little interaction with someone and a chat with someone.
Absolutely, it is like, and we've a local pub here that does great food, Cronin's, and they've started to do on Thursdays now. They do, you can go and collect your food, but you order it by Tuesday evening, and it's click and collect, and everyone was just so happy to see them back. And I think that really, positive good feel towards businesses is really important when we start coming out the other side of this. I think shopping in those businesses that really need your support will become really essential, because we want as many of our businesses to keep going as possible, because it's going to be tough on the other side of this.
Oh yeah, for sure. The economy is something we all really need to keep a close eye on. I know COVID is very important to contain, but my goodness, I think that's the second thing we need to worry about. You would, as I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep an eye on our business and our economy, and tourism has been so badly hit. I mean, all over, Ireland. Hotels closed down. I just can't even imagine. We were discussing this over dinner one night, like the whole domino effect behind that, like the wedding, the person that was getting married, the hotel, their side, their staff, their bookings. I mean, I can't even imagine to contemplate all that's involved in that, and trying to reschedule and cancel and reimburse people and reorganize it. And it's just, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's really tough. But I think for us, as consumers of a lot of different things, just being aware of those struggles, I think, by businesses, by the hotels, by the pubs, by the restaurants, the cafes, people who are doing products, still, trying to get products into the country, trying to get them out. I think being aware of our purchases and that kind of support will become really important. And I think we are getting better. And I just think that support needs to kind of continue. And hopefully it does. But yeah, I think some people have just had a desperate time, haven't they?
Yeah.
With cancelling stuff. But then, there's the flip side. Then, obviously the health, like both my parents are over 70. Peter, my husband's grandparents are three of them are still alive, and they're great, they're fabulous people. And we've just been so fortunate that everyone's been healthy so far, and we've been really, really happy about that. Even if they're all a bit sad, missing different things, like they missed the baby's first birthday and that kind of stuff. But look, there'll be lots more birthdays, hopefully.
That's so true. So, Derval, there's loads of questions I'd love to ask you, and I'd love to start with your first childhood memories of home. Can you share a little of those with me?
Yeah, so I grew up, I don't know if they say this, so in Cork, if you grow up in the state, you call it a park. I'm not sure if that's a thing outside of Cork. So I grew up in a park there's 50 houses in the park, and there was just loads of kids around the same age as me. So I was probably one of the youngest, and then there was like up to 4 years older. So it's kind of everybody moved into this park around the same time, had their kids. So my childhood memories of home are being in our house. There's a green in front of the house, and just constantly being out playing on the green with all the other kids. It was such good memories of just being really small, and different people calling to the door saying, is Derval allowed to come out and play? And that's a really lovely thing. And I had such an active, very busy running around childhood. And I think that growing up in a park like that was the base of it, I think.
Lovely. And what was your family home style like when you were growing up?
My mum is incredibly neat and organized and tidy. And it's really funny because I'm not. I'm so disorganized. And my husband laughs because he is the tidier in our house. And my mum, like when we go to, even now to this day, like my childhood house that I grew up in, my parents still live there. And it is the most organized house in the world. And my mum would be very, she would not want things to be out of place, but yet it's the type of house that, like, if you call into, you have to have a cup of tea, very Mrs. Dory, like, oh, you'll have a cup of tea and then you'll have a bit. And it's funny, I see that in myself now. So like when we were growing up, it would have been like, the dishes would be done straight away, and you wouldn't be leaving clothes on the floor, things would be tidied away, and it was a very organized house. And my mum would have spent a lot of time, like if we were getting a new kitchen table or a new couch, she would have really thought that through and what she wanted, and she's a very stylish person, my mother. She looks, when I've been telling people actually in lockdown that she's over 70, nobody can believe it. She looks great. But so I think that kind of style, that like organized kind of classiness, definitely comes out in her choices at home.
Fantastic. And it's hard to believe that you're messy, Derval.
I'm so messy.
I'm
I'm
shocked.
desperately messy. Yeah,
Well,
definitely
tell
messy.
me a little bit about your teenage bedroom. What was that like?
So I was in the box room at the front of the house, and I loved my bedroom in terms of like I really felt like my bedroom was this kind of cocoon from the world. And I I just, when I think back to my bedroom, I think back to kind of being in there and just imagining life as I was starting to get older, because I was very into sport as a teenager. And so my walls would have been full of like sports people. So I would have had like Roy Keane up on my walls,
Mhm.
lots of Man United players. I remember my friends used to joke it was like a boy's bedroom, but then at the same time there was like random pink stuff. So I was very sporty,
Yeah.
um, and I I have so there was a built-in bed in the room, and when you lay in the built-in bed, there were shelves built in behind it, and I used to write under the shelf, kind of graffiti under the shelf, because I knew my mom hadn't figured out that it was there, and the graffiti. So I every year I used to write in what I wanted to run. So from when I was about 12, 13, I'd graffiti, I'd be lying on my back in bed, and I'd have a little light on, and I knew she would know, she probably did know I was doing it now, she'll tell me if she listens to this. And I'd write underneath it like different quotes from the different bands I was listening to, like Blur and Nirvana. And I'd write a quote, but then I'd write next to it what time I wanted to run in the sprints or hurdles in the few months following that. So my room was definitely this lovely cocoon of kind of my thoughts and kind of my dreams and what I wanted to go on and do. And there was always pictures of my friends up on the wall as well.
So you were kind of practicing visualization from a very young age, if you like, of where of your dreams and your where you probably wanted to go, or people that you admired. You were surrounding yourself with all of those icons.
Yeah, I was. And, there was probably a poster of Sonia O'Sullivan, I would say, up there at some stage. And yeah, it was my room for me as a teenager and as a child. And it's something I try and do with my daughter now, was a place that was my space. So it just felt like in there I could let my head go to all these different places. And, when you're a teenager and you have that teenage angst and you just want to lock yourself away for a while, there was definitely those moments, but I loved being in there. And to this day, I think I'm only now starting to sleep better in my bed in my own house. I would say that single bed is the bed I slept the best in for about 35 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And when did you first realize that athletics was something you had a talent for?
Probably growing up and being in front of my house and racing boys on the green in front of my house and beating them. That was
Right.
pretty good. And I just loved running. I loved being active. I loved racing people. I was competitive,
Mhm.
and I'm still competitive. And I think that's a great thing for girls, to teach them that it's okay to want to win, but it's also okay to lose, and to be able to accept that and be ambitious. So when I was a kid, yeah, it was always quite clear. And I had a great teacher in primary school who rang my parents and suggested they put me into a running club. And from when I was a teenager, but honestly, I didn't, the career I had, the kind of 12 to 14-year career I had, wasn't a plan. I went to UCD, did my degree, then I went and did a postgrad, I did a master's. I always felt like it was on borrowed time, that it's the type of career that won't last forever. And everything I got in it was a bonus. I worked very hard, but I wasn't the most talented teenager. Like, I was good. I obviously had a certain level of talent, but I wasn't the absolute most talented kid in the country. And so I knew it was always going to be hard work. I needed a little bit of luck. I needed support from various people. And yeah, I adored every moment of my career, because I felt like I didn't know how long it would last. So the fact that it lasted so long is still somewhat baffling to me, I'll be honest.
Wow. And do you think your kids will follow in your footsteps?
Yeah. So for me, my husband went to two Olympic Games for sailing. So he's also very sporty. But the main thing I think we have in the house is we love being active. Like, and for me, I really, really hope that the kids have sport in their lives for being active and for all those tools it gives you. I think, especially through the teenage years, I just hope they love it and kind of get the joy out of it that we get out of it. Whether or not they'll be competitive at anything, honestly, I have absolutely no idea. And I'm not genuinely, I'm not bothered so long as they're enjoying it and that they stay in sport. I would be so chuffed if they got to their 20s and they were still competing and actively involved in any sport.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, that's good. You got to let them kind of find their own path and their own way. But
Yeah.
it's probably in their DNA, Derval, I'd say.
Yeah, it's so funny, like, because my son, my husband's sports are so different. Like
Mm-hmm.
competitive sailing, like what he would have done takes such a different brain and skill set to what I would have done. So we're always looking at the kids, kind of laughing, going, "It'll be really interesting to see what kind of comes out and what they actually love." But my daughter at the moment, she's nearly 5, and she is mad hurdling and jumping things. Like she is obsessed with jumping stuff.
Incredible.
Yeah, she won't actually let me hurdle. So if I go, "Oh well, maybe Mummy will do it now," she's like, "No, these are my hurdles."
There you go.
Yeah, so it's quite funny.
The apple hasn't fallen far from the tree.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But if she races any of her friends and she loses, though, it's very dark times in our household. So
Aw.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes as she gets older.
Yeah, that's so cute. And I'm sure you've made a lot of personal sacrifices over the years when training. Can you share some of your routine with me?
Yeah. So when I would have been competing, I think the biggest thing is that as soon as I went into college, into UCD, my path was really different to most of the people who I was in college with. And it's actually interesting because I was listening to your podcast and Rosanna Davison was on, and we were in UCD around the same time.
Oh,
And I'll always remember, like, we didn't really know each other, but just looking at her and knowing all the different things she was doing and finding it fascinating because she was, clearly like so ambitious, and I
mhm.
thought it was very impressive. But when I was in UCD, I didn't live the student lifestyle really at all. I was training. I was trying to make my first Olympic Games. I was on sports scholarship, so I was training twice a day when I was in college. Like I was in the gym at 7 o'clock, and then I was training in the evening at 7:30, running. And I did that through college, made my first Olympic Games. And then I went to Smurfit Business School, and it was very similar. I was in Smurfit during the day, and I was in the gym in the mornings and in the evenings. And then after Smurfit, kind of people went on and started, going down that route in their 20s of kind of really defining their careers. Whereas my career was track at that point. I was in a position where I was earning enough money as an athlete for that to be my job. I did some other jobs on the side for work experience and at different phases during my running career, but mainly my job was track for like 10 years. So I I kind of missed out on that chunk where people are kind of developing their career path, I think, in their 20s. And I don't regret it at all because my career was so different and I only ever gained from it. Like athletics opened up the world to me. I spent 12, 14 years traveling the world. Racing was absolutely amazing. But it did mean that when I hit 32 and I decided to retire, I had to start figuring out the rest of my career at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was probably the lifestyle was never a sacrifice to me because I loved being healthy and fit, and I still really, really value my health above anything else. I think if you're healthy, you can sort out anything else in life, and I. Yeah, I think having to start figuring that out at 32 and then kind of realizing I had a really big passion for healthy lifestyle and helping my friends be healthier and finding those solutions for people, and then trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I make this a career with from being a professional athlete and then from going to business school? How do I piece all that together? So I think that was the biggest challenge for me, and definitely the biggest kind of different path that I took.
Mm-hmm. And how important was being disciplined and focused for you? Was that a big part of everything for you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, if I what I would be a skill that I still possibly use a lot is like I would set goals. So once I had a goal and a clear vision in my mind of what I was trying to achieve, and honestly, this is from when I was in my bedroom as a teenager, writing it under graffitiing under my shelves. Like once I can clearly see what I'm trying to achieve, the discipline of getting there for me is a lot easier. And the roadmap from here to there, once I know what the end game is, I don't find that difficult. And I think most people can learn to do that no matter what they're doing in life. I think that's a skill all of us can get better at all the time. And it's actually something I share a lot on Derval.ie. There's a section on mindset. And I was really fortunate in that from a young age, I had people in my life who really showed me how to do different things. And I would say, that made a big difference to me. So the discipline, it was rarely that hard because I knew what I was trying to do.
Hmm. Yeah. And you were loving what you were doing, so it just came naturally to you. It
Love
wasn't a sacrifice in a sense because you were doing and what you wanted to do, and it was your ambition.
Absolutely. And when I was running for all those years, like it's a massive privilege to get to compete for your country. Like it genuinely is. And I know we say it, but most people really, really believe it. And for me, I identified early on in my career that I wanted to run my absolute best times when I was running for Ireland at a major championship each year. And that was my goal every year. I was going, right, there's world championships on. When I stand on a start line in world championships on that day, no matter where in the world it is, I want to do better than any other day of the year. And that's what I ended up making a career out of, being able to run Irish records kind of on the biggest days of the year when I was running for Ireland. And to be in a position to do that, like I would always say, it's almost like getting a ticket to the best party you can go to and then showing everybody what you can do and what you're capable of. And it was just a brilliant, brilliant time. And, things, crazy stuff now. I look back, being 19, going to Russia to race, going to South America to run when you're a teenager, and,
Mhm.
all through my 20s, traveling everywhere. And it's had such a big influence on me now and my home life. Like I went all over the world. I was always looking at different ways people lived and what they were doing. And I try and incorporate a lot of that into my life now.
Mhm. And who would have traveled with you then? Would it have been your parents, your family, or?
No, so my parents never did because that's just not like that in athletics. So I traveled on my own a lot from when I was like probably 18, 19. Um, and then it was probably 70 to 80% of the time I traveled was on my own. And once I'd get somewhere, then I'd know people at the meet or whatever, the race I was going to. But you spend a huge amount of time on your own and you have to learn to be very self sufficient. And if you don't, I think if you struggle to be on your own and kind of be comfortable in your own skin and to I'm very into like solutions. So if anything, things go wrong all the time when you're an athlete and you're traveling on the circuit. Flights get missed, trains get missed, the weather gets really bad at a race. You're always having to react.
Mm.
And I think if you're not solution orientated and if you're not good on your own, you kind of become your own manager, like your own high performance manager, where you're like, okay, I need to get to my next race. It's in Latvia. I've just missed a flight. How am I going to figure this out? And you just start to figure it out. And it's an amazing thing to go through. And as I got older and as I got better, I would have had agents and things would have been figured out a bit more for me. But definitely until I was about 24, 25, I was figuring out everything and traveling a lot on my own. But I always had training partners. So when I was back based in Dublin, I would always have been training with people. And I always tried to find out where other Irish athletes were competing and tried to make sure that I could go to as many places as possible with people I knew. But most of the time, you just end up being on your own in these random places. Like, I remember towards the end of my career being in Sweden, in the middle of nowhere in Sweden, having had a terrible race and just ringing my coach being like, this is hard. Like, this is really tough. Um, but you get resilient from it. You kind of figure out what you want, what you don't want. So it's mad, but brilliant.
Brilliant. I recently watched a movie called I, Tanya with Margot Robbie. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it and I get really tempted to watch it. Should I watch it?
You should. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure there's little aspects of that movie you might be able to relate to, but there's so much pressure, and and it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I just finished The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls story with Michael Jordan, and I
Oh,
I loved it. And I loved watching it in lockdown because it's just so many parts of it reminded me of my career when you're that competitive, and when it means that much to you, like, it's just the depths you kind of go to in your soul almost to pull out a performance. And I look back and I know, like, I know I left everything on the track as well. I know when I walked away there was nothing else I could have done. I don't have any regrets. And I must watch Titanic because I love seeing people who are just trying to do something a little bit extraordinary. And a lot of the time, and for me as well, I was doing it mainly because I thought I could do it really well, and that's all that mattered. It really didn't matter if no one ever knew. Like, it mattered to me so much that the rest of it and the kind of bit of attention you get outside of it, and that became very irrelevant for me as my career went on. I just really cared about being the best I could be as an Irish athlete, leaving a really good legacy for whoever came behind me, and walking away happy.
Yeah, gosh, that's incredible. You're to be admired. That just takes a lot of everything. I'd say it comes from your toes up when you're about to enter one of those races or competitions. You've got to really be on your game and mentally fit and physically fit, and it's an incredible challenge. And I think you've done us very proud, Derval.
Yeah, but not many people get to do it, and that's what I always remembered. I remember going to the start line under a lot of pressure at times, thinking, very few people get this. Very few people get to stand here and try and do this. So
Yeah.
once all I cared about was walking off the track with my head held high, whatever the result was, and knowing that I couldn't have done much more. And a lot of the time I did that. So that's a great thing to be able to do. And we all only have one life, and I think trying to live your best life, whatever that is and however that looks for you, is really, really important. And that was my path for a long time, and I adored it. I couldn't even fathom trying to go back to it. I mean, once I retired, I was done. I look back at it going, it was amazing. I'm delighted I could do it. I've no interest in going back. I have an interest in doing other things, So yeah, I think kind of each to their own, and whatever you want to do that kind of sets your soul a little bit on fire and gets you up in the morning is important.
Yes, exactly. And what do you think the outlook is for the Olympics in 2021?
Oh, I really hope it goes ahead. I really do, because the Olympics can define careers in good and bad ways, and just for Olympic athletes, it's really, really important. And I don't know. Right now, if you're making a call, and I think you'd be a little bit negative, but the world, I mean, look how different the world looks now than it did in March. Things are changing all the time, so I just really hope for the athletes, and also all their teams, because when you see an athlete out there, there's like, probably parents behind them who've supported that dream. There's coaches, there's just so many different people who have helped them to get to that point, and there's just a big support network there. So I hope we get to see it next year.
Yeah, hopefully. My gosh, I hope we're in a better place then, and
Yeah.
let's just all stay positive. Tell me a little bit, Derval, about your own home. What's your own home like? Your own interior style like?
So we built a house. I remember we broke ground when I was exactly 40 weeks pregnant with Daphne. I'll never forget it, standing on the site as they were breaking ground, and I was 40 weeks pregnant. It it took about 18 months from start to finish. Our house it's quite modern, but yet not modern at the same time. There's lots of light. The way we designed it, myself, my husband, because he traveled a lot as well through his 20s competing, and we stayed in so many places, and the two of us kept writing down things from houses that we had stayed in and places where we've been that we loved, and we tried to bring a lot of that into the house. So there's a lot of light in the house. You come in through the front door, which is at the back, and actually there's a porthole in our front door. So my husband got the door made, so when you come in through the front door, if the kitchen door is open, you can actually see the whole way through. Before you come in, you can see the whole way through the porthole to the water on the other side of the house,
Fantastic.
which is great. It's beautiful. And then it's quite open plan downstairs. Like, there's a big kind of, the kitchen became a really, and for me, the kitchen was always going to be the kind of center of the house. It's where I wanted people to just pop in and sit there and chat and drink cups of tea and cups of coffee. And that's what it's become. So we have a really big island in the kitchen. I remember when I was designing the kitchen. So at the all the units are straight across the back, and then a really big island. The hob is on the island, so if I'm cooking, I can cook and talk to people as they're sitting at the island. That was really important for me. And then there's different elements in the house that are probably quite kind of almost rustic and industrial, which would be like my husband's input. So we have an exposed kind of brick wall in the middle of the house that he just loved. So that's there, and it's got a fireplace in the middle, although we've never put in a stove. So that's something we're trying to figure out what to do with that space. It's definitely a work in progress. So when we built it and when we moved in, by the time we moved in, Daphne was 1.5. We did what most people do who build a house, run out of budget, and there's loads of things we just, you have thoughts that you'll get to all your interiors. We're only just starting to get around to it now. Remember, we got blinds for downstairs and curtains about 7 months ago, and I was so delighted. I was like, oh my God, blinds and curtains are so beautiful. I never had so much attention to them as when we finally got them 3 years after we moved in. And we're getting there. Like, we've a double height space as well in the house that goes kind of from just off the kitchen to upstairs, where there's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and then there's an office at the top of the house and a guest bedroom. I love it. I love our house. Our house, I wanted it to be the type of house that people would just pop into. Very homely. Yeah, and it has become that, and that's lovely. Friend of mine said to me a few months ago, right before lockdown actually started, she just said, I never feel like I need to ring you if I'm going to pop in. I can just pop in. That's just your vibe. I was like, yes, that's totally
perfect.
How I always wanted our home to be, and that is how it is. And that's actually something that's been tough in lockdown, because the house has become very quiet. But then the other side of it is there's been the 4 of us in it, in our little unit, and we've been kind of figuring out, just being with each other, which has been lovely. So it's I love being at home. Like, I think from traveling so much and for so long, like, so when I left home, I would have been 18, went to college, and I never came back for any summers because I was away racing. So I just spent a really long time traveling the world, racing, being in college, and I lived in so many different places. I bought my first house in Dublin when I was 24. And I had that for a really long time. And but I was never really grounded somewhere until this house. And so this is probably our forever house, I would say.
Love it. And how do you start your day? Like, what's your morning ritual? Are you an early riser?
No, I'm terrible. I'm such a night owl, which actually worked really good as a professional athlete, because really big races are on late at night.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I start my day, at the moment, my days always start the same way, where my husband brings the baby into bed, our 4-year-old's in bed with us, and I get a cup of coffee, and there's just the 4 of us there for like a few minutes, and I'm just trying to wake up, and the kids are just like Daphne, because she's 4, is kind of jumping on the bed, and that time in the mornings is lovely. It's you're so groggy and you're just trying to come around, and I desperately need coffee at that point. So that's how our days start. They've been starting like that for a while now, which is lovely. And also, even it's being at home, like you're kind of, even the way our room is, like, there's enough space for all of us to be there without kind of feeling like it's closing in you. It's lovely. So our bedroom is really nice, and it's really nice that the kids just kind of descend on us in there.
Love that. So where would you say your favorite place in your home is? Would it be the kitchen, maybe the heart of the home?
It would be, we have the kitchen table just in kind of a bay window, like in the same space as where the kitchen is, and we've started to sit there a lot in the evenings when the kids go to sleep, and that has kind of become my favorite place in the house. So say if anybody called over when the kids were asleep, that's probably where I would just sit with them, and I'd sit there chatting to my husband a lot. And so I think daytime in the house, it's definitely like being at the island, because that's where the kids sit. Archie's high chair is there, Daphne sits up there, Peter's there. Like, we're just around the island all the time, and I'm always making stuff and doing, typical mom, where you're just like so busy and trying to do everything. So yeah, but then I think in the evenings, I think life kind of goes a bit quieter, and it's nice to just sit at the window and look out and watch things get a bit calm.
So, how important is cooking to you and healthy eating? I'd imagine that's big on your list of priorities each day.
Enjoying food is
Yeah.
my number one priority. I love food. When I was a teenager, I was a waitress in a restaurant in Cork, and I think it really gave me a love of food from when I was quite young. And food in my home growing up, dinners were always kind of a family affair. Like we always sat down for dinner together. So food was always a really big social aspect for me. And when I became an athlete and I realized I actually had to be healthy to perform well and eat food that was healthy, then I started to really enjoy cooking. I went to Dublin Cookery School to get a really good basis in kind of knowledge on food and ingredients and flavors and textures and stuff. So
Mhm.
um I actually cooking is really relaxing for me, not when the kids are hanging off me before anyone thinks I'm mad. Then it is not relax between the times of kind of 5 and 6:30 in the evening. It's not relaxing because it's mad in the house, but it's like every day I think, what am I going to eat today now? Like I do, it's terrible. Like when I wake up in the mornings, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a nice breakfast now. What'll I have for lunch? Like I just, yeah, I love food. I spend my whole days thinking about food, and it's actually my birthday this week. And my whole thing,
Oh,
yeah, my whole thing to my husband is like, what will I eat on my birthday? Like I'm really looking forward to what I eat. But I think I do genuinely feel like you can eat in a really healthy and enjoyable way, and it's about kind of like teaching yourself, and that's something I've tried to do a lot on the site with people, is associating food with joy as opposed to something that you beat yourself up about. Is really, really important. I think your relationship with food is really important for your overall health.
definitely. 100% agree. I'd imagine it's very important how, especially as food is so important in your life and especially in your business, your children would be watching that too and learning from you as well, I'd imagine, from a very young age.
Yeah, I think so. With food with the kids, I'm actually a really, really relaxed parent when it comes to food. I think people think I'm going to be quite strict because I'm so into food and I've written 2 cookbooks, but actually, they have, like, what I do a lot is I cook stuff, and always try and have variety. And if they eat it, they eat it. And if they don't, they don't. I don't make meal times a big drama because I just don't want that for them. I don't want it for myself. Um, and I am actually very relaxed about them with food. I want them to love food. I want them to, Daphne, especially in recent weeks, has started like doing bits and pieces in the kitchen with me. And now, let's be honest, her ability to peel a carrot, which is her favorite thing to do, is probably not as good as she thinks it is. But um, I think it's really good for them to, Arch is too small, he's only 1, but I think for Daff it's really good for her to understand, like, okay, you need to do this for this to make this. So I've been doing a lot of baking with her, getting her involved in the kitchen, and it's lovely. And then, like, she's totally fussy. She's your typical 4-year-old going on 5, where she tells me she doesn't want to eat anything, and then she'll eat it. So I just never make a fuss, but I don't obsess about it.
Yeah. But the baking side is great, and it's great to interact with your kiddies and get them involved. And baking, especially, is great fun with kids.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And we have chickens up the back. So Daphne will go up her. So that's her big thing now, that she's such a big girl that she can go and collect the eggs from the chickens and bring them down. So she loves eggs, and she really understands that they come from the chickens, and then that she can use them in cakes, and then she can have boiled eggs. And yeah, so that's quite cool.
And how do you unwind in the evenings then when the kiddies are in bed?
I tend to do like I do genuinely do a home workout a lot of evenings for kind of 30 minutes myself, without my husband, without the kids, and just for myself, because it actually makes my mind kind of calm down and it makes me feel good. So
Mhm.
I do that, and then I often will, if the kids are asleep and Peter's here, I'll often go out for a walk after and ring people and chat to them, because that's a big thing I do miss in recent weeks. I really miss people. So I chat to at least one person most evenings. Um, And then I myself, because my husband is really into cycling, so he cycles in the house now on his turbo. So when he's cycling, I do my bit of a workout, and then I'll go off and chat to someone on a walk, and then we'll try and talk to. We always go, right, what time are we going to be in the kitchen? We have this thing every evening. What time are we going to be in the kitchen together? Okay, 9:30. Right, meet you here at 9:30, and then
Perfect.
then so we like make this appointment, and that's new actually since lockdown, and then we like go like just have the chats, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's great. And tell me, is social media important to you in your life?
It's really important in terms of, it's really important to talk about Derval.ie on it, because if we didn't, it's such a good way to explain what I do there. And I love it for that reason. It's not important to me to spend a lot of time on it, cruising on it and looking at too many people. I can find it quite distracting, but I like it so the things I look on that are nothing to do with the business would be, I love interiors on it. I love looking at people's houses. I follow a lot of accounts to do with that, and I follow a lot of cooking accounts. And not so much fitness, because I do so much myself and work with fitness that I try not to be cruising around Instagram looking at too much fitness. But I do love Instagram. I love it. I think as a platform, it's great. I think so long as you're conscious of who you're following and what kind of impact that has on you, because there's definitely some people I follow make me really positive, and then there's other people that just make me feel a little bit negative, and that's just my honest experience on it. So I try not to kind of engage with too much that would make me feel a bit negative on there.
Exactly. Or just follow people that really are positive people, and have something positive to offer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of, like, I think you've had Dr. Darren O'Leary on. And I love following her. I think she's a brilliant follow on there.
She's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. She is like, to me, she is like ultimate influencer. Like, she's influencing people in such a good medical way. It's incredible. Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I do. I love, my husband's not on social at all, and he jokes that I love Instagram so much it hurts. He just winds up about it all the time. But I do love it. I think it's got a lot of power, and I think for me to be able to explain to people in a really genuine, authentic way of what I do with Derval.ie, it's just unbelievable to have it.
Yeah, for sure. And who have been your role models in life, Derval?
When I was growing up, my dad worked really hard, and I think that gave me a really good work ethic. I think it definitely gave me a sense through my childhood of, if you're going to do something, you need to apply a certain work ethic to it. And I think that stayed with me. It's been really positive. Then my mum, it was really interesting. She didn't work when we were growing up. She was at home with us. And then when I went off to college, she went back to work, and she became a doctor's receptionist in Cork, really busy practice. And for her to kind of go from not working for a really long time to kind of reinventing herself in that role was really impressive for me. When I was in college, going, and even now, like as a mum, I think when you're like the phase she would have been at in her life to do that, I find that quite inspiring, and I still do. And then I think in terms of sport wise, I would have always looked at Sonia O'Sullivan and felt that there was an opportunity for being a girl from Cork to go and try and take on the world. And that's what Sonia kind of brought to me as a teenager. We did such a different event because she was a distance runner and I was a sprinter, but she really made me feel like maybe I can go out there to the big bad world and try and be really good. And I think that's incredible. And then in terms of as I've gotten older now and in my life now, I look up to a lot of female business people. I'm in a business community going for growth, and my lead entrepreneur in the moment is Bríd O'Donoghue, formerly Pennies, and she's just an incredible lady. I find her really inspiring when we chat on Zoom calls. She's amazing. So yeah, I just think there's I think Ireland is full of really inspiring women, if I'm honest.
Definitely. And are you a super organized person, or do you perform well under pressure? And are you an organized person? How do you work from home?
Yeah, pressure is not something that bothers me. And I think that comes from probably a lifetime of having to perform under pressure. I quite enjoy deadlines. I enjoy having to turn things around. We do a lot of challenges on my site, like 4 weeks challenges to motivate people, and we always have to turn those around quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We're just finishing one and we'll turn around the next in about 10 days. So how I work from home is I carve out certain hours and where I know the kids are okay with Peter, and I literally write down everything that needs to get done in that time, and I just start ticking it off as I go, and I just get through it all. But I'm organized and disorganized, so I'm the type of person that can get through a load of stuff, a load of stuff for work, and then completely forget something to do with writing out a form for school for Daphne. You know.
Yeah.
So my personal administration is horrendous, but work-wise and anything to do with work, I'm like, because I always carve out the time and put it all in and get it done. And then the other stuff, it's like, and I suppose, I think as well, when you have young kids, you're only kind of learning to kind of manage your lives. Like myself and Peter are like, okay, who does this? Who does that? And sure, we forget half the time because he's very busy work-wise as well. And so yeah, I don't know. That's a terrible answer. I'm very organized work-wise, and there's very little that would bother me or stress me out with work.
And what motivates you every morning when you eventually have your cup of coffee and you get started in the day? What's the number one thing that kind of motivates you each day?
I'm motivated by two things. Actually, I'm motivated by three things in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm motivated by having the crack and a bit of quality time with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
because they are brilliant fun, and their personalities, and they're the most important thing in my life, without a doubt. They are the priority. They're the top of everything, and I love that every day I get to spend time. Like, it does feel like an amazing thing that they're our children. We get to spend time with them.
Yeah.
So motivated that. Then work wise, most days I'm motivated by doing something in the business that will help someone feel a little bit better and a little bit healthier. I love that. I love the little things that we do that really help people. And then every day I'm motivated by something exercise wise. So I say to Peter at the start of the day, I say, right, exercise wise, what are you doing today? And he'll say, oh, I'm on the bike, or I'm not on the bike, or whatever. And I'll say, right, I'm going to do 30 minutes this evening of. So those three things for me make my day really, really rounded.
Yeah. And what have you learned about yourself during the pandemic? Is there anything new you've learned about yourself?
I definitely need less in terms of I'm not a big shopper necessarily, but I love clothes and I love interiors and but actually I think quality has been a big thing that's come through for me, and experience. I think I really value, if I'm going to buy something, I really value who I buy it from and that experience. And I probably didn't think about that enough before the pandemic. And also I've learned that, like, I've always had this little bit of a feeling that there's a part of me that's quite introverted, and that I like to kind of be in my own little bubble in my house and in the garden, and I've enjoyed that so much in the pandemic that I think I've really kind of feel like, yeah, I do have that side of my personality that I need to be a bit separate from the rest of the world and just be in my own little bubble quite a bit.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. And I think because a lot of what I do is so public, the business is so public on social media. And then when I'm doing TV work, that's so public. I think people think that I'm a mad extrovert, but actually cooking a really nice dinner and being at home and having a glass of wine in the evening with Peter, and like, I really miss people coming over to the house for food,
Yeah.
and that's something I love. But I rarely go out, like, as in terms of like hitting up bars or anything like that. I couldn't honestly tell you the last time I was in a nightclub. So I'm such a homebody, and it's become very clear to me now through this.
And you must love hosting and entertaining. Is that big for you? Like around Christmas time, I'd imagine Christmas is big in your home.
Yeah, we've hosted Christmas here since we've moved in. Love it. I love any excuse for people to come over here and eat food and just chat and have a bit of a laugh and have the kids running around. I do. I love it. And I love being that type of house that people can just come here and do that. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And what one piece in your home holds the most special memories for you?
That's interesting. I have a chair that I bought years and years ago, a really comfy kind of wingback chair. And right before we got married in 2013, I was driving down to the venue. We got married in Kerry, and I was driving down. I saw this fabric shop, and I'm just going to pop in here. I don't even know why, because it's just this fabric shop in the middle of nowhere in Kerry.
Yeah.
Well, not in the middle of nowhere, like on the side of the road. And I popped in, and the lady who was standing there was my Irish teacher from school.
Wow.
And I just said, "Penny Scout on," like, could have thought to. She was just there, Derval O'Rourke, and I ended up, it was so random, and I was so awful at Irish that I was afraid the conversation might go further than that. Thankfully, we reverted back to English, and I ended up buying this beautiful, like, pink fabric, pink, loads of different colors of pink and some grays in it, and it ended up covering the chair, and that chair now sits in the house, and I love sitting there. I love sitting in the chair, and nearly everyone that comes into my house ends up sitting in the pink chair. And my daughter told me the other day, she said, this is my chair in this house." I was laughing, going, and it sits under this lovely lamp that I bought in West Cork in a shop in Clonakilty, and it is just so comfy and it's so cozy. And the fact that I wandered into that shop and saw one of my favorite teachers in there, and she sold me the fabric, and it's just a lovely little spot in the house. And where it is it's in the double height space downstairs, and it's just, yeah, it's a lovely chair. I love the chair. I love my chair. I actually randomly send pictures. I send pictures of my chair to people all the time, going, "Oh, this is the chair that I love." Yeah, so weird.
And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received from anyone in your life?
Um, I had a really great um, English track agent when I was really young, when I wasn't that good. And he helped me a lot in my career at the start of my career. Um, and I remember him saying to me when I was quite young, saying something along the lines of, you know, "You're much tougher than you think, and you need to back yourself, because if you don't back yourself, nobody else will. And you need to stand there and start backing yourself."
Mhm.
And that had a really big impact on me, because in something like athletics, and I think it's the same when you're working for yourself, or whether you want to do anything that's, you have a goal, it has to start with you, and you have to believe in yourself more than you expect anybody else to believe in you. And that definitely had an impact on me. And even now, I would come back to that when I'm questioning different things. I just think, no, you know what? I need to back myself here.
Mm. Yeah. Stop, take a breath, and back yourself. Think about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I agree. And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Gosh, just, I think, spending quality time with the kids whilst trying to manage that balance of growing Derval.ie and still delivering really good content, valuable content to people, and growing that community.
Mhm.
I think if I can still be managing that in the next 5 years, I'll be really happy. And I think that's something I can keep doing. Having that balance between, home life and being ambitious is really important to me. So I think just trying to keep the show on the road with that would be great.
Absolutely. I mean, you've had an unbelievable career and life. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say, I think I would probably say to my teenage self starting to come out of school, that there's so many different ways to do whatever you want to do in life, and that you need to be just kind of relentless with your own drive and where you want to go, and don't worry about what other people are doing, because you're just going to find your own path anyway, and it's going to become quite irrelevant. So figure out what makes you really happy and joyful every day, and just go hard at it.
Good. And what's the first thing you're going to do when the lockdown is lifted?
Probably have people come over to my house.
I
I
knew
probably
you were
not
going to
go
say that.
there. I'll probably still be here. Um, just get more people to come over. I'm going to be 40 next year, and because I say, I can be introverted, so I'm never into parties for myself. And I decided there recently, I think I'm going to throw a big 40th birthday party for myself.
Go for it. Yeah.
and bring loads of people here, all the people that make me laugh and that are great crack. And I have so many random people in my life from all the different things that I do. Bring them all into one place and just have a big old party. That would be great.
Excellent. Derval, we're going to just go through what we have is a quick fire round of questions. Are you ready?
I'm excited.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Bath or shower?
Bath.
Text or talk?
Talk.
Morning or night person?
Night person.
Taxi or walk?
Walk.
Interiors or fashion?
Interiors.
Home or abroad?
Home.
60 or 100 meters?
Oh, 100.
Indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor.
Eat in or take out?
Eat in.
News or Netflix?
Netflix.
Pilates or cardio?
Pilates.
National or international events?
International.
My last one is Boris Johnson or Donald Trump?
Oh my gosh. Probably Boris Johnson. I think you'd have a higher chance of getting a nice glass of wine and having to deal with it.
Good answer. Thank you so much, Derval, for joining me today, and I wish you and your family well.
Thank you.